My name is Lily. I make dancewear and all kinds of stuff. I also have my own OnlyFans page, which I make like 90% of what I wear on there. And so I figured I would start making like tutorials for other people that want to make some of their own stuff to save money, because you're always constantly needing new outfits and changing your clothes or changing outfits and looks and things like that. So, and that can get really expensive. So the first thing I'm going to show is how to make simple straps for bikinis or leg wraps, or just if you want something to just wrap around yourself, just the strappy stuff. Anyways, so these is what I'm talking about. There's a little trick to it. You want to get the right kind of fabric, the right thickness and everything, because you want it to look full. If you don't get enough fullness, it's going to be really flat and look more like, well, this, which, I mean, that's actually a bad example, but anyways, it looks like crap. We'll just put it that way. So I'm actually going to show you how I cut it and how thick I cut it, like the width. Also, I have a couple examples of what not to use to make a spaghetti strap. Do not use this type of material, because you can't turn it right side out again, because it sticks to itself so bad and it's a nightmare. You'll end up just giving up. Trust me, I did. Okay, even the flat kind, because this is like lame material or latex. This is kind of the same thing, but it's got a flat look to it. Don't use those. Again, here's another example of an even more toned down version of that, but it's still, you can do it with this, but you're going to want it to be a lot wider, a lot thicker of a strap. So like double the size of this. So it's loose, so it'll slide through. This type of material right here, I should have turned this right side out for you. Come here, get off here. This is a great, like, as far as like, you know, thickness goes to make them. But once you turn it right side out, this pattern, this print right here will be stretched out and it'll look like crap. It won't look good anymore. So it's not worth it. So the better thing to do to make a strap like that is just to make it like a fold over one that you sew right onto the bikini top or whatever you're making. This type of material is really thin, like really, really thin. So you're going to want to get it pretty thick, or add an elastic piece inside of it, which I don't really like to do, but you know, whatever. And also, again, this is going to get pretty stretched out and it's not going to look as shiny and as good when it's done, but this type of material isn't quite as bad as this. This stuff, again, sticks to itself and it gets stretched out. I got like a hair on my lip. I'm sorry. It's like stuck to me. All right, I think I got it. Anyways, now that I rambled through all that, I'll show you what I do. I use like just a piece of styrofoam, and normally I would have it like attached to the table, but I switched to a different table and I like to use it for different things, so I like to be able to remove it. But it's good because you can use pins and stick your material in there so it's not going to go anywhere. See? And so it's not going to move and slide around as you cut. Don't stick it too close to where you're cutting because you need your fabric to lift up to cut. So I'm using blue because it's winter. Winter's coming. And so about an inch to an inch and a half, because this material is kind of thick too. But I'm going to make my first like cut about 2 inches long. And then I flip it. Oops, I got that messed up. Flip it and line it up. And that's how I do it to make sure I get it straight, because I'm lazy and I don't make sure. So then I'll just do that and then cut right up. And you're going to want sharp scissors to do this. And don't layer your material up any more than like 4 layers, because if so, it'll start to like bow and bend inside of it and it's not going to be even. So now I got another cut made. Make sure it's staying flat. Put it across there like that. And then cut again. Okay, first things first, the needles that you use, you're going to want to get something like this, or not something like this, this. This is what's important, these measurements down here, if you're going to be using spandex. Now, that's, of course, different materials like the latex stuff over there, you're going to want something thicker. But for spandex, you're going to want a ballpoint, and you're going to want those measurements. They're the best, they're the sharpest, the smallest, they'll go through it the easiest, and they won't break your thread. Personally, I don't look at the measurements. I look at the color. It's got yellow or gold up top right here, and then pink down there. These are universal to go pretty much fit in any machine. This is Husqvarna machine, and it's kind of picky, and they fit it perfect. So that is what I'm using. Next, your thread. I like to get this kind of thread, and it's shiny too. However, I'm going to be using a flat because it's the only blue that I have that matches-ish. Because, yeah, I didn't think ahead. When you're using a big spool like this, a lot of times it has a tendency to break. This is stuck, so I can't even get it in, but this keeps my thread tension tighter. It keeps it from, like, being a loose, sloppy stitch. This, I put the other direction when I'm using this. Now, you'll find out about me, I don't know any technical names of anything. I don't measure anything. I don't use patterns. I don't follow the rules at all. So I wing it, but I'm very good at winging it. So if you're looking for technicality, you've come to the wrong place. If you're looking for creativity, I can do that. Start. Make sure I'm in the camera here. Piece of thread. Or piece of string. I usually about this thick. Hemp works great, or some sort of like a string like this. You can get it at any craft store, Walmart, anywhere. Pretty easy. Just don't use like anything that has like the strings like this that crafters use. Don't use things like that because it will, fray. It can snag your fabric too. And that's not good. I usually leave about this much sticking out of the end so that way I can grab it really easy. But you're going to start out by doing this. You can use a straight stitch to do this part. You don't have to. You can use any stitch you want. Just make sure you get the string sewn to the thread very, very, very well. I'm going to be using a number 5 on my Husqvarna machine. I will show you what that is in just a moment. Sorry, because it's actually very, very important that you use this stitch and not a different one, or else your thread will pop when you're wearing it. So I need that loose. So I got stuck on something down here. Get up here. Okay, now literally just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until you know your string is sewn on there so good it is never going to come off unless you cut it off. There. I hope you heard what I just said. Now, put it back in here, line up, get it as close to the end as you can, because at the end, when you turn it right side out, it's going to leave a nice clean ending to it, and you don't even have to like tie it off or anything, and that's actually really nice. You are going to want to crank this foot down tight, extremely tight, because you don't want this string slipping up underneath the foot and then getting sewn to your fabric. So I usually like put it on like 5, which is really, really tight, especially for a medium weight spandex material like this. Okay, I'm going to lock this down so it's not going anywhere, and I'm going to show you what stitch I'm using. Hopefully I'm going to show you what stitch I'm using without screwing something up. Okay, here's the my machine. This is actually usually like this. Okay, so I'm using the number 5 right here. Okay, you can see it. This is a straight stitch right here. Okay, the standard just straight stitch. This is a stretch stitch. You definitely want to use something like this. You can use number 4 too, but it'll get your stitch too close to the edge, and it'll be really, really tight and really hard to turn right side out. Okay, this stitch, just saying, is usually what you would use for everything else to make it a stretch. Not this, because it's not wide enough. But you can see little zigzags. You can't actually see it once you're sewn on there. It looks like a straight stitch. So the settings are normally set to this. Okay, this is how wide your zigzag is going to be. This is how far apart each stitch is going to be. I'm going to turn this down to like 1, so that way it can go faster and it still will be tight enough. And this, I'm going to turn it down to 1.5 so it's not too far. Actually, you know what? I'm going to leave it at 2 because this is a pretty thick fabric. So I hope that all made sense. I'm going to come over here real quick and show you what I've done here. I've sewn the crap out of this here. So this string is not going to go anywhere, ever. All right, there. Now, okay, so since I've cut this pretty wide, you don't want to do it, your stitch too close to the string. I'm going to start it out tight, but I'm going to gradually move over to the middle. Okay, make sure your string is all the way up against the edge. And now we want to start out. This part's kind of a pain in the butt to get it completely started and completely under there, but you know, because it doesn't want to go even. There we go. Now that I got that, now I can grab back here. Now what you want to do is you want to fold it over down a little ways and pull the fabric, stretch it out. And don't say as far as it would go, as it can go, but pretty much. So you're going to want to pull it like this as you go, because if you don't, once you put it on and try to stretch it, it's going to pop the thread. So, and then you just sew it down the middle. Now, the reason I left so much here, because if, you know, you don't, then once you turn it right side out, it's going to be like flat and it's not going to look very good. But since you have all this extra right here, it'll fill it up and it will make it look nice and round. I'm going to turn this up a little bit because I put it down too far, because you can see the stitch is really tight. It's not going to break, but it's leaving it all wavy. When you do that, it ends up looking like this. And that doesn't look very good. Once you wear it and stretch it out, you can't really tell anymore, but it doesn't look as clean as this one, where it's not doing that. So, I'm grabbing everything. But yeah, I'm going to finish this up, and then I will show you how to turn it right side out. Okay, now I'm almost done here. I'm going to show you this last little part, because, as you can see, I've gradually pulled the string through as I've been going. And so whenever you do that, you want to make sure your needle is down in here, down inside the fabric, and you want to hold it with your hand back here, because if not, you're going to pull it out, and that's not fun. So do it like that. Okay. And also, another thing I wanted to say is when you're pulling this, hold on to the string, or don't hold on to the string, but keep your fingers tight next to it, so that way it doesn't slip over, and you can control how you keep the string straight so it doesn't get under here. And also, when you are pulling back here, hold on to the string and the fabric both very tight, okay? So, and then when you start to sew, you are going to literally move your body with it. You don't want to pull with your arm, because you're going to end up going over here. So you're going to want to like hold it like this and move. And as it goes, you're literally moving your body forward like that, okay? I mean, you come up with your own method and your own, whatever you're comfortable with eventually, but that's how I do it, because I've pulled so many this direction, and then my stitching is like this, and it's all uneven and it looks terrible. But okay, something kind of like this, if I can get my fingernail to not catch on everything. Okay, last little part. You don't have to do that. Oop, I keep kicking you. I'm so sorry. Okay, then, let's see. Just like so. Pull it through. And you're going to want to lock it in place. So you just hold it in place, just like that. And there you go. Your thread is locked. And pull this out. Now, oh, I do have scissors over here. I bet you all were watching me struggle, like thinking, what an idiot. Okay then. Anyways, now that I've made an ass of myself, here comes the fun part. Turning it right side out. If you've done it right, it shouldn't be hard. If you've done it too tight, it's probably going to be a little difficult. And hopefully you've made your stitching tight enough and you're not going to pop it. Here's what I do. I take this string that I have sticking out at the end here, and I cut it to where it's about maybe 1/4 of an inch long. Then all the extra little threads, because you're going to have them, chop them off as well. This part right here, I like to cut at an angle. Just the very, very beginning part, because it helps me get it started. If I don't, make sure you don't cut into the stitching though, because that's not going to look good. It'll help you get it started. Because if not, it's kind of a pain in the butt to get started. And sometimes I have to use my teeth to like get it pulled over top of it. So I'm actually just taking a hold of it here and sliding it over. Oh, there we go. And I got it started. So the important part is to get it off of this string as fast as you can, because if for some reason you didn't get this tight enough and it pops off, then you're going to have to like try to get a safety pin attached to the string and run it back through and somehow safety pin it on there, or you're going to have to bust open part of this thread and turn it inside out again and then re-sew it and then put it back in there and then re-sew that hole and then resume what you were doing. So, but from here, you do not want to grab here or grab on like this. You are going to grab the outside here like this and pull. Well, unless it wants to be a pain and stick, which this is because I got it too tight at the end. So there we go. Now we can do it. Okay, just keep tugging like this. And if it gets bunched up at the end, you're going to have to go like this and loosen it. And then, of course, other materials like, a slicker spandex material like this is so much easier. Literally, I mean, it just slides right off. But since this has got a cottony blend in it, it looks like, then it's going to be a little more difficult. It's going to stick to itself a little bit more. But just get it over here and then pull. And then pull. Make sure that you're grabbing onto only the fabric and hold this very tight. And then, loosen it up at the end here again. Come on, that's good. Then when you go down here, make sure you grab onto everything. When you're going to like slide this bunchy part down to the end again, make sure you're grabbing onto, because it stops, let's see here. Where does it start? Okay, it starts right here where the end is. So make sure you're grabbing onto the end very tight, the string and the fabric to hold it in place. If you do it like this, make sure you're pinching here and not here, because you'll bust your thread, okay? But this can help support the fabric and get it down, okay? So now that I've got that there, I'm going to work on putting more of it onto itself, because there we go. Now it's through. And I can grab on here. And if this breaks, it's no big deal. I'm not going to have to fix that in any way. So, and it's easier to pull through now. You can put a little more pressure on things and you don't have to worry about it. I got it way too bunched up down here. There we go. Okay. Make sure that you've gotten your thread, your stitching tight enough. Or close enough. Don't rush it. Don't if you whiz through it, it's going to be loose and it's going to pop. Or you're going to have gaps and it's not going to last on your outfit. Pull. Come on. This thick stuff really likes to bunch up on itself. See, like that. So you got to wiggle that out of there. Come on. Get out of there. Man, I really got it that time. There we go. Just pull it back out. And then resume what you were doing. So probably gonna fast forward half of this because kind of boring. Oh, another thing that makes it easier is, you see how it likes to spiral around itself? Try to keep it from doing that, because once it does that, it gets harder to pull through. But if you can keep all this stuff on one side, then it's so much easier to pull through. Yay. Now, oh, and you can see how it's kind of frumpy in there like that. A little bit. That's from the other fabric. So I either did too much and got it too bumpy, but as you work with it and as you wear it, it will flatten out and you won't have to worry about that anymore. Or you can just take your fingers and kind of work it a little bit and it'll lay it down. So here is your string, and it will be longer than what it originally was since you stretched it. Then the very end, you just go like this, take this and I cut it as close as I can without cutting the fabric. And there you got yourself a nice little clean end. If you don't like that, you can always tie it off or sew it off. Just, you know, put a straight stitch back and forth on it a couple times and then just cut it. Or you can tie it and, you know, cut the end off. But make sure you do something or it'll come unraveled, okay? So there is your spaghetti strap. But anyways, I will be doing a lot more things like this, showing simple little things like at first and then just get a little more complicated. If you guys have anything that you want to see or want to see how I do it, then just comment below and I will definitely make a point to make a video on that.